I never believed in fate until the day a 4-year-old child changed my entire life. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was rushing through Hangang Park with my arms full of grocery bags. The straps were cutting into my fingers, and I was already late for my shift at the convenience store. Being an unmated Omega in Seoul meant working twice as hard for half the respect, and I couldn't afford to lose this job. That's when I heard the crying. Not the usual whining of a spoiled child, but desperate, hiccuping sobs that made my chest ache. I shouldn't have stopped. I had 30 minutes to get across town, and getting involved in other people's problems was a luxury I couldn't afford. But my feet betrayed me, following the sound to a small boy crumpled beneath a cherry blossom tree. He was tiny, with dark hair falling into his eyes and tears streaming down his flushed cheeks. His expensive clothes, a crisp white shirt and tailored shorts, marked him as someone from a completely different world than mine. "Hey," I said softly, setting down my bags and crouching beside him. "Are you lost?" The moment I got close, something strange happened. The boy's head snapped up, and his crying stopped abruptly. His eyes, deep brown and startlingly intelligent for someone so young, widened as he stared at me. Then he inhaled deeply, and his whole body seemed to relax. "You smell like home," he whispered. Before I could process those words, he launched himself at me, wrapping his small arms around my neck with surprising strength. I stumbled backward, catching myself with one hand while the other instinctively steadied him. "Whoa, careful," I said, but he was already burrowing his face into my neck, right where my scent glands were. A warm, contented purr rumbled from his chest. My blood ran cold. I knew what this was. Everyone knew what this meant. Imprinting. "No, no, no," I muttered, trying gently to pry him off. "Kid, you can't. This isn't. Your parents are going to." "Minjun." The voice cut through the air like a blade, deep, commanding, and absolutely furious. I looked up to see a man striding toward us, and my breath caught in my throat. He was the most intimidating alpha I'd ever seen. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than my entire year's rent. His face was striking, sharp jawline, intense eyes, and an expression of barely controlled rage. His scent hit me like a physical force, pine and thunderstorms and something darker, more dangerous. This was someone used to being obeyed without question. "Step away from my son." His voice was ice. I tried to move, I really did. But Minjun's grip tightened, and he started crying again. "No, no, she's mine. My Omega." The alpha's eyes flashed gold, a sign of his wolf rising to the surface. "Minjun, come here. Now." "No." The boy's distress was palpable, his small body shaking. "She smells right, Papa. She smells like she's supposed to." I finally managed to speak, my voice trembling. "I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. He was crying and I just tried to help." "You did more than help." The alpha's gaze raked over me, taking in my worn clothes, my lack of a bonding mark, everything that screamed unsuitable. His lip curled with disgust. What kind of Omega deliberately exposes herself to an alpha child? The accusation hit like a slap. I would never. "Papa, don't be mean to her." Minjun's voice was fierce despite his tears. "I found her. She's supposed to be with us." The alpha ran a hand through his hair, his frustration evident. He pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking rapidly in clipped tones. Within minutes, a black car pulled up and a woman in a white coat emerged. A doctor, I realized, probably specialized in Omegaverse dynamics. She examined Minjun while he clung to me, refusing to let go. Her expression grew more grave with each passing second. "It's a complete imprint," she finally said. "I've never seen one this strong in a child so young. If you separate them now." She trailed off, but the implication was clear. The alpha's jaw clenched. "There must be something we can do. A suppressant, therapy. Forcing separation could traumatize him permanently. The bond is already established." The doctor looked at me with something like pity. "I'm sorry, but your son has chosen his Omega. He's 4 years old." The alpha's control was fraying. "He doesn't choose anything yet. This is He looked at me again, and I saw something flicker in his eyes. Not just disgust now, but something more complicated. Fear maybe. This is wrong. Wrong. The words settled in my stomach like lead. I was wrong. Not good enough, not suitable, not worthy of this child's pure affection or his father's world. I understand, I said quietly, finally managing to loosen Minjun's grip. I'll go. I'll disappear and he'll forget. The moment I started to pull away, Minjun screamed. It wasn't a tantrum, it was pure agony, the sound of a bond being torn. The alpha flinched, his hands reaching for his son instinctively. Stop, he commanded, and I froze. He looked utterly defeated. Just stop. The doctor spoke gently. Mr. Kang, you need to consider your son's welfare. Mr. Kang. Even his name sounded powerful and out of my reach. He stared at me for a long moment, and I saw him wrestling with something internal. Finally, he spoke, each word forced out like he was chewing glass. What's your name? Jiho. Park Jiho. Park Jiho, he repeated, like he was memorizing it for future reference, or maybe preparing to have me investigated. My son has apparently decided you belong to him. Which means, whether I like it or not, you're coming home with us. It wasn't an invitation. It was a sentence. And as Minjun's tears dried and he smiled up at me with absolute trust and joy, I realized my quiet, ordinary life had just ended. I was about to enter a world where I would never belong, bound by a child's innocent choice and his father's reluctant obligation. The wrong Omega, with the wrong scent, in the absolutely wrong place. But as Mr. Kang turned away, his shoulders rigid with tension, I couldn't help but wonder, if this was so wrong, why did it feel like something had finally clicked into place? The Kang mansion wasn't a home, it was a fortress designed to remind people like me that we didn't belong. 3 weeks had passed since that day in the park, and I still felt like an intruder every time I walked through the marble hallways. Mr. Kang, though I'd never dare call him that, had set me up in a guest room on the same floor as Minjun's nursery. The room was larger than my entire apartment had been, decorated in soft creams and golds that made me afraid to touch anything. You're here for my son, nothing more, Daehoon had told me that first night, his voice cold as winter. You'll attend to him when he needs you. The rest of the time, you stay out of sight. I'd agreed to everything. What choice did I have? But living in close quarters with Daehoon Kang was slowly unraveling me in ways I hadn't anticipated. Every morning, I'd wake to Minjun bursting into my room at dawn, his face bright with joy. Jiho, you're still here, he'd cry, as if he expected me to vanish in the night. He'd crawl into my bed, pressing his nose to my neck and breathing deeply, and that contented purr would rumble through his small chest. Those moments were pure and uncomplicated. It was everything else that twisted me into knots. Like right now. I stood in the doorway of Daehoon's study, Minjun's hand clasped in mine. The boy had insisted his father read him a bedtime story, and no amount of reasoning could convince him otherwise. Daehoon sat behind an enormous desk, his attention fixed on a laptop screen. He was in casual clothes for once. A simple black shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms that I absolutely should not be noticing. His reading glasses caught the lamplight. He looked softer like this. Almost human. Papa! Minjun released my hand and ran to his father. Story time. Daehoon's expression transformed. The cold mask melted away, replaced by something so tender it made my chest ache. It's past your bedtime, little warrior. But you promised. The one about the tiger and the rabbit. I started to back away. I'll just stay. Daehoon's eyes met mine, and for once, there was no hostility. Just exhaustion. Please. He'll only come looking for you again. So I perched awkwardly on the edge of a leather chair while Daehoon lifted Minjun onto his lap. His voice, usually so sharp and commanding, gentled as he wove the tale. Minjun's eyes grew heavy, his head drooping against his father's chest. I watched them together, and something painful twisted in my heart. This was what made everything so complicated. Daehoon wasn't just a cold, arrogant alpha. He was a father who loved his son with every fiber of his being. He lost his mother when he was 2, Daehoon said quietly, startling me. Minjun had finally fallen asleep. Leukemia. It was fast. I'm sorry, I whispered. He doesn't remember her much. But he remembers being sad, being empty. Daehoon's fingers traced through Minjun's hair absently. When he found you, it was the first time since she died that I saw him truly happy. The confession hung between us, heavy with meaning. That's why you hate me, I said softly. Because I'm not her. His eyes snapped to mine, and I saw something flicker there, surprise, maybe, or recognition. I don't hate you. You think I'm wrong for him. I think, he stopped, jaw tightening. I think you're dangerous. The words sent electricity down my spine. I would never hurt Minjun. That's not what I meant. His gaze was intense, searching. You walked into our lives and turned everything upside down. You're an unbonded Omega with no family connections, no status, nothing that makes sense for a child of the Kang bloodline to imprint on. And yet my son looks at you like you hung the moon. I didn't ask for this. I know. His voice dropped lower. That's what makes it worse. Before I could decipher what he meant, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and stood abruptly, Minjun secure in his arms. I need to put him to bed. You should rest. Dismissed again. The walls were back up. But as he passed me, our shoulders nearly brushed, and I caught his scent, pine and thunderstorms, but underneath, something warmer. Something that called to every Omega instinct I'd been suppressing. I fled to my room before I could do something stupid. The shift happened gradually, then all at once. Late-night encounters became routine. I'd find Daehoon in the kitchen at 2 a.m., tie loosened, exhaustion carved into his features. Small things at first. His work managing the family corporation. My abandoned dreams of becoming a teacher. The way Minjun had started drawing pictures of the three of us together. He wants us to be a pack, I said one night, cradling a mug of tea. Daehoon's laugh was bitter. He's 4. He doesn't understand what that means. Maybe he understands better than we do. The look he gave me then was scorching. Don't what? Don't make this harder than it already is. He set down his glass with more force than necessary. Do you know what would happen if I actually bonded with you? The scandal it would cause? My family has expectations. I know my place. I cut in, anger finally breaking through. You've made it very clear. I'm the charity case you're stuck with because your son imprinted on the wrong Omega. That's not. He stood abruptly, and suddenly he was right in front of me, close enough that his scent enveloped me completely. You think this is easy for me? Having you here, smelling like sunshine and vanilla, watching you mother my son like you were made for it. My breath caught. Daehoon. You're in my house, in my space, in my head. His voice was rough, almost desperate. And the worst part is, I can't figure out if Minjun chose you, or if he didn't finish. Didn't need to. The tension between us was suffocating, electric. His eyes had darkened to amber, and I could see his control fraying. One move, one word, and everything would change. The sound of small feet padding down the hallway broke the spell. Jiho? Papa? I had a bad dream. Minjun appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. Daehoon stepped back like I'd burned him. I'll take him, he said roughly. But Minjun stretched his arms to both of us. Together. Want both. So we ended up in Minjun's room, one on each side of his small bed. The boy fell asleep holding both our hands, a bridge between two people who were terrified of what they were feeling. In the darkness, Daehoon's voice was barely a whisper. What are you doing to me? I had no answer. Because I was falling too, for a man who thought I was wrong, for a life I could never truly have, for a family that wasn't mine to claim. The imprint had been Minjun's. But the bond forming between Daehoon and me? That was something else entirely. Something neither of us knew how to fight. Everything shattered on a Thursday evening, exactly 2 months after I'd entered the Kang household. I was helping Minjun with a puzzle in the sunroom when I heard voices in the entrance hall. Daehoon had mentioned a family dinner tonight, but I'd assumed it didn't involve me. I was the secret they kept tucked away, after all. Minjun, sweetheart, keep working on the corner pieces, I said, standing. Something in those voices made my stomach clench with dread. I shouldn't have gone to look. But curiosity, or maybe fate, pulled me to the hallway where I could peer down at the grand entrance. Dae-hoon stood rigid in his formal suit, and beside him was the most elegant Omega I'd ever seen. She was breathtaking, designer dress, perfectly styled hair, movements graceful as water. Her scent wafted up even from a distance, jasmine and expensive perfume. Mrs. Kang has already approved the match. An older man was saying, Dae-hoon's father, I realized, from the photos I'd seen around the house. Seo-yoon comes from an excellent family. The merger will strengthen both our companies. My heart dropped into my stomach. Father, I've told you, Dae-hoon started, that you're wasting time with some common Omega who trapped your son? His father's voice was sharp with disdain. I've been patient, Dae-hoon. But this arrangement with that park girl needs to end. Minjun will adjust. Children are resilient. The Omega, Seo-yoon, placed a delicate hand on Dae-hoon's arm. I know this is complicated, she said softly, but I'm willing to help Minjun through the transition. With time and proper bonding, he'll accept me. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. Seo-yoon is perfect for you, Dae-hoon's father continued. She understands our world, our expectations. The engagement announcement is scheduled for next week. Next week? Dae-hoon's voice was strained. Unless you have a valid reason to refuse? The silence stretched like a chasm. I waited for Dae-hoon to speak, to object, to say something, anything, about what had been building between us these past weeks. The late-night conversations. The way his hand would linger on mine when we both reached for Minjun. The morning I'd found him asleep on my doorframe, as if he'd been drawn there unconsciously. No, Dae-hoon finally said, voice hollow. No valid reason. The words stabbed through me like ice. I stumbled backward, hand pressed to my mouth to stifle the sound of my breaking heart. Of course. What had I expected? That a fantasy could become real? That someone like him could choose someone like me? Jiho. I spun to find Minjun standing behind me, his puzzle abandoned. His small face was crumpled with concern. Why are you crying? I hadn't even realized tears were streaming down my face. I'm okay, sweetie. Just. Is Papa making you sad again? His voice rose with distress. Papa, don't be mean to Jiho. No. Minjun ran toward the stairs, and I chased after him, but I was too slow. He appeared at the top of the grand staircase, and suddenly all eyes were on us. Dae-hoon's expression when he saw me was unreadable, shock, guilt, something almost like pain. But he said nothing. His father's face, however, twisted with contempt. So this is the Omega. I should have known you'd be eavesdropping. I wasn't, I didn't mean to. Papa, tell them. Minjun ran down the stairs to his father, grabbing his hand. Tell them Jiho is ours. Tell them she stays. Minjun, go to your room, Dae-hoon said quietly. No, not without Jiho. Seo-yoon knelt gracefully beside Minjun, her smile gentle. Hello, Minjun. I'm Seo-yoon. I'm going to be your new. I don't want you. Minjun shouted, pressing himself against his father's legs. I want Jiho. She's my Omega. That's enough. Dae-hoon's father's voice cracked like a whip. He turned to me, eyes cold. Mississippi Park, your services are no longer required. You'll be compensated generously for your time. Pack your things and leave tonight. The room spun. But Minjun. We'll learn to cope as children do. You've served your purpose as a temporary comfort. Now it's time for appropriate arrangements. I looked at Dae-hoon desperately, one last time. Say something. Please. His jaw was clenched so tight I thought it might shatter. His hands were fists at his sides. But when he spoke, his voice was the cold, distant tone from that first day in the park. It's for the best, Jiho. You knew this was always temporary. Something inside me died. I see. My voice sounded strange, distant. I understand. Minjun's scream tore through the air. No, Jiho, don't go. Papa, don't let her go. I couldn't look at him. If I looked at that little boy I'd come to love like my own, I would break completely. I'm sorry, I whispered, and I ran. I threw my few belongings into a bag with shaking hands. The room that had felt like a prison at first now felt like a sanctuary I was being banished from. I could hear Minjun crying somewhere in the house, the sound growing more desperate. The bond was breaking and it was killing him. A soft knock made me freeze. Hope flared stupidly in my chest. But it was Seo Yoon who entered, closing the door gently behind her. "I wanted to apologize," she said quietly. "I know this situation isn't fair to you. You don't need to." "I do." She sat on the edge of the bed, and up close, I could see the sadness in her eyes. "I don't love Daehoon. This is a business arrangement for both our families. But I'm not cruel. I can see what's happening here." "Nothing's happening. He made his choice." "Did he?" She tilted her head. "Or did he make the choice he's been trained to make his entire life? There's a difference. It doesn't matter now. It should." She stood, moving to the door. "For what it's worth, I think you're the right Omega. Not me. But men like Daehoon." She paused. Sometimes they need to lose everything before they realize what they had. She left, and I finished packing in numb silence. When I walked out of the mansion for the last time, I didn't look back. I couldn't. Because if I did, I might see Daehoon watching from a window, and I might convince myself that the pain in his eyes meant something. Behind me, Minjun's cries echoed through the night. And somewhere in that fortress of a house, I knew Daehoon was listening to his son's heartbreak, making the same choice he'd been raised to make. Duty over love. Status over happiness. The right Omega over the wrong one. I walked into the cold Seoul night, leaving behind the only family I'd ever wanted. Some imprints, I learned, weren't strong enough to overcome reality. 3 weeks felt like 3 years. I'd moved back to my tiny apartment in Hongdae, picked up extra shifts at a different convenience store, and tried desperately to rebuild the life I'd left behind. But everything felt hollow, like I was moving through water. The worst part was the dreams. Every night, I'd wake up gasping, phantom echoes of Minjun crying ringing in my ears. My Omega instincts screamed that my pup was in distress, even though he wasn't mine. Had never been mine. I was restocking shelves on a rainy Saturday when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Mississippi Park. This is Dr. Yoon. We met briefly at the park. I need to speak with you about Minjun. It's urgent." My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped a bottle of soda. I stepped into the back room and called immediately. "Minjun hasn't eaten properly in 3 weeks, Dr. Yoon said without preamble. "He barely sleeps. He's withdrawn, refusing to speak. The separation is destroying him, and Mr. Kang is too proud to admit he made a catastrophic mistake." "Why are you telling me this?" My voice cracked. "Because that little boy is dying inside, and I took an oath to protect children. Whatever happened between you and Mr. Kang doesn't matter. Minjun needs you." She paused. "The engagement party is tonight at the Grand Hyatt. I thought you should know." She hung up, leaving me standing in a storage room surrounded by boxes, my heart hammering against my ribs. I should have ignored it. Should have protected myself and let them live their perfectly arranged life. But Minjun's face, those trusting eyes, that innocent love, haunted me. An hour later, I was standing outside the Grand Hyatt in my only decent dress, rain soaking through my thin coat. Security wouldn't let me pass the entrance. "I need to see Kang Daehoon," I pleaded. "It's about his son." "Miss, if you're not on the guest list, let her through." I spun to find Seo Yoon standing beneath an elegant umbrella, resplendent in a silver gown. She looked like a princess. I looked like a drowned rat. "She's with me," Seo Yoon told security firmly. "Ma'am," Mr. Kang's father specifically said. "I'm the bride." Through. Inside, she led me to a quiet corridor. "I can't watch this anymore," she said. "Daehoon looks like a ghost. Minjun refused to even come tonight. He's upstairs in a suite with a nanny, refusing to leave his room. And I'm about to bind myself to a man who's clearly in love with someone else." "He's not. Please." She laughed bitterly. "I've watched him these 3 weeks. He goes through the motions, but he's dead inside. Just like his son." She pressed a key card into my hand. Suite 1847. The nanny will let you in. I already called her. Fix this, Gio, before it's too late for all of us. My hands trembled as I slid the keycard. The suite was massive, decorated in creams and golds that reminded me painfully of my room at the mansion. Hello. I called softly. An older woman appeared, the nanny. Mississippi Park? Miss Seo-yun said you'd come. He's in the bedroom. He won't let me near him. Her eyes were wet with tears. Please help him. The bedroom door was cracked open. Inside, I could see a small lump under expensive bedding. Minjun. My voice broke on his name. The lump went still. Then, slowly, a small head emerged. Minjun's face was pale, his eyes red-rimmed and hollow. He'd lost weight, his cheeks sunken. Jiho. His voice was barely a whisper, like he thought I might be a dream. I'm here, sweetheart. You came back. He started crying, broken, desperate sobs. I thought you left forever. I thought you didn't want me anymore. I was across the room in seconds, gathering him into my arms. He clung to me with surprising strength for someone so weakened, his face pressed to my neck, breathing in my scent like it was oxygen. I never stopped wanting you, I whispered fiercely. Not for a single second. Papa said you had to go. Papa said it was better. But it's not better, Jiho. Nothing's better. Everything's wrong without you. My heart cracked wide open. I know, baby. I know. Make Papa see. Make him understand. Minjun pulled back, his small hands gripping my face. You're supposed to be ours. You smell right. You feel right. Why doesn't Papa understand? Sometimes grown-ups are stupid, I said, tears streaming down my face. Sometimes they choose the wrong things for the wrong reasons. Then we have to show him. Minjun's determination was fierce despite his exhaustion. We have to make him see. Before I could respond, the door burst open. Dae-hoon stood there, still in his tuxedo, hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it. His eyes were wild, desperate. I heard, they said you were... He stopped, taking in the sight of Minjun in my arms. Something in his expression shattered. Jiho. Papa. Minjun scrambled out of my arms toward his father. Papa, she came back. Don't let her leave again. Please don't let her leave. Dae-hoon dropped to his knees, pulling Minjun close. His eyes met mine over his son's head, and I saw everything there, agony, regret, love, fear. How could you do this to him? I asked quietly. How could you choose your pride over his happiness? Pride. His laugh was broken. You think this was about pride? Jiho, I was terrified. Of what? Of you. He stood, Minjun still in his arms. Of what you make me feel. Of how completely you destroyed every carefully built wall I'd spent years constructing. Do you know what it's like to lose someone you love? I lost Minjun's mother, and it nearly destroyed us both. And then you appeared, perfect and impossible, and I knew if I let myself love you, losing you would end me. The air left my lungs. Love me? From that first night you fell asleep in Minjun's room with a storybook in your lap. Maybe before that. He moved closer, each step deliberate. I told myself it was impossible, that you were wrong for us. But the truth is, you were the first thing that's felt right in years, and that terrified me more than anything. So you pushed me away. I thought, his voice cracked. I thought it would hurt less if I did it on my terms. I thought I was protecting us. Instead, I nearly destroyed the two people I love most in this world. Minjun looked between us, hope dawning on his exhausted face. Papa loves Jiho? More than breathing, Dae-hoon whispered, his eyes never leaving mine. More than anything except you. Then she stays? She's ours forever. If she'll forgive me for being an absolute fool. Dae-hoon stopped right in front of me. If she'll let me spend the rest of my life proving that there was never anything wrong about her. That she was always right. I thought about his father's contempt, the scandal this would cause, the life of difficulty ahead. Then I looked at Minjun's hopeful face and Dae-hoon's open, vulnerable expression. There's an engagement party downstairs, I said softly. Seo-yun already called it off. Apparently, The bride told everyone the groom was in love with someone else. A smile tugged at his lips. Caused quite the scene. My father is furious. And that doesn't scare you? Everything about you scares me, Park Ji-ho. He reached out, cupping my face with his free hand. But losing you again? That terrifies me more. When he kissed me, it felt like coming home. Like every piece that had been scattered finally clicking into place. We're a pack now? Minjun asked, his voice bright with joy. All three of us? All three of us, Daehoon confirmed, pulling me close. Forever. Outside, rain pattered against the windows. Inside, a family that had been broken finally became whole. The wrong Omega with the wrong scent in the wrong place. Except it had been right all along.